Plus, to be part of your day, Kevin Miller in the morning. Joining us now in studio for his, annual, biannual, quadrennial appearances, our great friend, Congressman Mike Simpson. Congressman Simpson, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing, Kevin?
Not bad indeed. A lot going on today, and, your thoughts on what's going on with Judge Kavanaugh.
Well, it's I am disappointed that the Democrats on the committee had this information clear back in July and waited until the Thursday before the vote in the committee to bring it up. Now, they will say that, this woman didn't want to be identified and stuff. But if you send this kind of letter that to the committee and say this, it's not going to be anonymous. If it's going to come out. And she should have known that at first, but I think you have to listen to her. That's why the committee has said, let's have a hearing. They've delayed the vote. Let's have a hearing on Monday with this professor and with Judge Kavanaugh. This is a 36-year-old accusation, and I don't know what the truth is. That's why I think they ought to have a hearing. I think the Senate committee is doing the right thing and giving her an opportunity to state her case. And then the only thing you're going to be able to do is judge who you believe.
Now, I have to ask you something. You don't hold back from anything.
Yeah.
I always tell your critics, I go, Mike Simpson, he doesn't hold back from anything. He'll tell you what he thinks. What do you make of the comments coming from the media and the senators, the female senators, that the optics are bad because they're all men? Men should shut up and step aside. Now, you're a man.
Yeah.
From a male's perspective, an elected official, a congressman's perspective, what's up with that? Are we lower-tiered individuals now, sir?
No, we're not, and it shouldn't be about gender. It is, you treat everybody with respect, and that's why I think the senators are doing the right thing in this case. I don't think the fact that they are males is going to have an influence on their decision on this. But it's disappointing, some of the rhetoric that's coming out. We've devolved into this tribal sort of mentality, and it's hard to get rid of it. But it makes me question, obviously, the Senate Democrats' motives when more than half of the Democratic senators, before President Trump nominated Kavanaugh or anybody, he said they would oppose any nomination that he put forward. So, how open-minded is that?
Indeed. But, you've been criticized in the past for working with people.
Yeah.
For working with Democrats.
Sure.
How did we go from, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg and others going, when I was confirmed, everything was sunshine and unicorns. But, who's at fault for the hyper-partisanship? As someone who has been bipartisan in the past, is this just when the stakes are that high, just throw everything out the door?
Yeah, I think it is. I think if you look at those people right now that hate President Trump, would oppose any policy he put forward. And this started the day after he was elected with the Women's March on Washington, D.C., they never really gave him a chance, and it doesn't matter. I think they look at this as they have an obligation to try to defeat Brett Kavanaugh or any appointment that President Trump might make, and they will go to any length to do it because their cause is so just. And it's the same thing on the other side too, and it's unfortunate. But when you look at it's not, everybody looks at Congress and says, man, it is so partisan there and so divided, and it is more so than I've ever seen it. But our country is that way, too. The politics out here in Idaho are that way, and all across the country. You are either on one side or the other, and the extremes are what you hear all the time, when I think a majority of American people just want us to do our job.
Indeed. Congressman Mike Simpson with us, 580-5436. 580-KIDO. What did you make of the Senate vote for the budget? People are highly critical of that, but it'll keep everything rolling, the military rolling for quite some time. As someone who deals with appropriations quite a bit, sir,
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the inside on
Well,
that?
one thing we're trying to do is do our job on time. We're trying to get back to what's called a regular order, where we do the appropriation bills and get them done by the first of the fiscal year. We have passed the energy and water bill that I am in charge of in the House, along with the Veterans Administration and Military Construction Bill and the legislative branch. Those three appropriation bills were passed, and I understand the President is going to sign them tomorrow or Friday. The Senate passed the Defense and Labor, Health, and Human Services budget yesterday. We will pass that as soon as we get back. That's about 80% of the discretionary spending. We then have a package of interior, financial services, transportation, housing and urban development, and agriculture that we're trying to get done by the end of next week. If we get that done, that'll be 9 of the 12 bills, which is 9 more than we've been able to do in probably the last 10 years, and get them done on time.
And that goes unnoticed.
And that goes unnoticed. And it is a big thing to the agencies to actually know what their budget is going to be for the next year for planning and stuff. We continue to do these continuing resolutions when we don't get it done. So the agencies go along not knowing what their budget is going to be for the next year until sometimes March, which is halfway through the fiscal year, which is crazy. So I've been a proponent of trying to get back to regular order, get our bills done on time, get our work done on time. And while any of these appropriation bills, you can look at them and say, well, I don't like this little provision or that provision or whatever in it. The biggest compromise in Congress is an appropriation bill, because there are things in it that I think are absolutely vital. There are things in it that I could go, maybe not, but they're vital to someone else. And so that's how a conference works out between the House and the Senate, between Republicans and Democrats. Try to get a bill that we can all support. And this bill that passed the Senate yesterday, the Labor H and Defense bill, passed 92-7, I think it was. So I mean, that's a pretty good bipartisan vote. Our bill that passed the energy and water appropriation bill passed 377-20 in the House and 92-5 in the Senate. So that tells me that Congress is doing its job. They're working together, trying to do our job.
Okay, we have a few people that want to talk about Judge Kavanaugh, if you don't mind.
Okay.
But I have to ask you.
The one good thing is I don't get to vote on Judge Kavanaugh. I'm in the House.
I'm with you. But as someone who, you've been in the arena, and that is, by a lot of us, unrecognized, to put your name on a sign, to raise money, to be elected, to be the leader of the Idaho House of Representatives, to go to Congress, to deal with all these high-profile folks. As someone who, you didn't have a primary challenger this time that I can recall. Yeah. What was your takeout, feedback from the primary, the May primary, with the governor's race? And really, I guess that's the big one, because we talked about, you said, look, Kevin Miller, it speaks for itself where I'm going, but as someone who does this for a living and you meet these grassroots people, what was your takeaway from obviously the most expensive primary that we've had in quite some time, sir?
I was surprised at the governor's race on the Democratic side. I would have thought A.J. Lukoff would have won. If I had money, I'd have put a whole lot of money on him rather than Paulette Jordan. But Paulette Jordan came through. And there's an awful lot of people, the Bernie Sanders people and stuff, particularly here in the Boise Valley, that liked her, that wanted another option, and so she got elected. I was surprised, but she's a credible candidate, and I have to tell you, I admire anybody on either side of the aisle who is willing to put their name out there and stand up to the criticism that you always get, no matter who you are, and run for election.
Now, I'll see if I can get you to bite on this one.
Okay.
She's in trouble. I mean, people have, and maybe she's just one of those candidates where it doesn't matter. She has the staffers quit before the primary. Now, it's less than 60 days before the election, this major shakeup. Unavailable. You got the Idaho Republican Party saying that she's in California filming a documentary. Maybe she's a transcendental candidate that it doesn't matter about earned media, paid media, or anything else. But, again, your objective point of view, she's got to be in trouble. She could be a gift for the Republicans, and Brad Little, she could give Brad Little even bigger coattails than I expect that he will have.
And that may be the case. She's going to have to answer for what she's done, whether it's right or wrong. I don't know what she's done. I've just heard reports and those types of things. But she's going to campaign on the issues. I know that tomorrow, she's going to be in Idaho Falls at the City Club giving a speech. I'm going to go to that.
Are you?
I've never heard her before. I didn't know her when she was in the state legislature.
You're going to ask her a question?
And I doubt it. I wouldn't want to put her in that kind that kind of position. But the City Club will have questions for her and that type of stuff. But she's, I'd like to meet her and see what she's got to say and see what her positions are on a lot of things.
Okay. I'm going to get you to comment on the Republican primary, but or at least I'm going to attempt to, sir. Congressman Mike Simpson with us, KIDO Talk Radio. So you know Brad Little.
Yep.
You've known him for years.
Yep.
You saw what that campaign, that machine, he's working. Everybody else seems to have taken time off since the primary. Brad Little continues to work.
You bet he does.
What he did to two very good candidates,
Yep.
I can't see anybody stopping him.
Yeah. I agree. I supported Brad from the start. I've known him for years. I know that he is maybe the best prepared candidate to be governor that I've ever seen. He knows the issues. He's been lieutenant governor under Butch Otter. He's been a state senator. So he knows the issues that face Idaho, and I think he's got good ideas on how to address those. His character is outstanding, and so like I say, I think he may be the best prepared candidate to be governor that we've ever had.
How did he win the primary?
Worked hard. He had a good base behind him. He had a good grassroots team out there. I did some events for him over in southeast Idaho. People around the state have done events for him. But you're right, he is all over the state, and that's not easy. I'm a second congressional district candidate, which is half the state, and it is hard to get around the entire second district. To get around the entire state is really difficult because this is a big, big state.
Right.
And so it takes some time, but you're right. He's been campaigning ever since the primary, out meeting with people, talking with people, listening to people, and that's what a good candidate does.
The other candidates, though, they thought they had it.
They did.
Yeah.
It was a tight primary. It was
tough race.
It was a tight primary.
Right.
I couldn't tell you for sure. I mean, I was much more sure that A.J. Belukoff would win.
I was with you with Belukoff. Yes,
than
I was with
that, that Brad would win because there were two other really good candidates in the field. But I know Brad just outworked him and did a great job. He's got good name recognition around the state from having been lieutenant governor and run statewide before. So. He's a great guy. I couldn't be prouder of him.
Yeah, and a lot of people say it came down to the second CD. That's where it would have been won and lost. You agree with that?
I don't know. Every vote counts the same in all parts of the state.
I think you're a good vote counter.
If you look at it, Labrador won, I think, 6 counties that were mostly on this side of the state. In fact, all on this side of the state are North Idaho, where he'd been the first district congressman. And Tommy Alquist won, I think it was 12 counties in all of them in southeast Idaho. Brad ran and won counties throughout the state, 124 of the 44 counties or something like that.
And the margins that he lost by were not
very large.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, I'm done. We go to Thomas in Caldwell with Congressman Mike Simpson on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Thomas.
Hey, good morning, Congressman.
Hi, Thomas.
Hi. It's the first time I've called into this show. I'm not usually calling in, but I really appreciate what you said about the idea of getting your work done on time.
Yeah.
That's how any successful operation runs, and what a novel concept, right?
Yeah.
If you get your stuff done, on time, you're set up to move on to the next thing.
Yeah, that's right.
But anyway, I just was weighing in earlier on this Kavanaugh thing, and I've been listening for the last couple of days. Everybody get real short of breath about this high school thing, little necking session that might have went a little bit south, but this is 30-some years ago. I remember myself at that age. I got told no a couple times, and that's just pretty much as far as that went. Hopefully that's all there is to it. But I don't want to see everybody get all short of breath about this. This is just the sour grapes again. And to quote our former president, elections have consequences.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And one of the big reasons that Donald Trump won is because of the open seat that now has been filled by Justice Gorsuch. And and the potential for other Supreme Court seats. I mean, that was a big issue in the presidential election, and obviously President Trump won the presidential election and has the right to make nominations to the Supreme Court. And the Senate has the right to advise and consent, which is what they're doing. And I think that Judge Kavanaugh will be confirmed. I have looked at his job as a judge on the D.C. District, which is what they say the second most powerful court in the land, because they get a lot of cases that come up to them. I think he's done a fair job, and he's done a good job as a judge. So I think he's the kind of person that you want in a position on the Supreme Court.
Yeah. I from what I've been able to look at, that's kind of what I've arrived at too. And I'm trying to, I'm pretty dyed-in-the-wool Republican, and I still have to make myself be objective. But I don't know about the rest of the population out there, but I certainly hope at 53 years old I'm not judged by things I did when I was 18, because I'd like to think I've progressed a bit from there. I'm a fallen creature, and I'm still working on myself, and I hope we can all say that.
Yeah, it is. I've said before, when I ran the first time, I got accused of some things. And, we all have histories. We all have past. Some things we wouldn't want printed on the front page of the Statesman. But I've always said my goal in life is to be a better person today than I was yesterday, and a better person tomorrow than I am today. So.
Yes, sir. Well, it's a pleasure talking to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thomas, thank you for calling KIDO Talk Radio. More with Congressman Simpson next. We continue on with our great friend, Congressman Mike Simpson. Before we get to pro-life and your phone calls at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, let's talk a little bit about the 2nd Congressional District, the INL, other issues that are pressing there. Is the 2nd CD having the same problem that we're having here with the incredible amount of people moving in?
Not nearly as much as on this side of the state, but we are getting some growth in Southeast Idaho. What we're having trouble with throughout the 2nd District, and I probably believe this is throughout Idaho, is the unemployment rate's so low that employers are having a difficult time filling jobs and stuff. There are more openings for jobs than there are unemployed people.
Right.
So, ultimately that's what drives up wages, is the competition for employees. And when you're an employer and you want the best employees and you have to start paying more because somebody else is paying them, that's ultimately what drives up wages. And that's starting to happen. Everybody said after the tax cuts, well, you're not seeing wage growth and that kind of stuff. That takes a little time for it to work through the system, but it is working through, and wages are starting to come up. We had the largest growth, I think, last quarter in wage growth that we've had in decades. So I think the economy is doing good.
It's crazy, the housing prices here, though.
It is. It's really crazy over here. It's getting, it's a lot worse over here in terms of housing prices than it is, over in Southeast Idaho. Now, of course, if you're selling a house, then that's a good thing.
You have to find a place to move to, though.
Yeah, that's right.
Issue, right. Congressman Mike Simpson with us, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's talk a little bit about the INL, because dealing with nuclear waste has been in the news for quite some time.
Right.
You're concerned about it. You're the guardian of that facility. Your thoughts?
Well, they're cleaning up over there really well. They've got the cleanup contractor, Fluor, is doing a fantastic job getting rid of the true waste, and we'll have that completed pretty quickly. They'll have all of that recharacterized and repackaged and ready to go to WIP. Now, the big holdup, not really a holdup, they're partially open now, is WIP after the accident that they had down there a couple of years ago. They're taking like 7 shipments a week now, and they'll get up to the 17 that they're qualified to do probably in the next couple of years. They have to put in a new ventilation system and a few things like that. But the cleanup contractor at the site is doing a great job. They will get the waste treatment facility going to take care of the liquid waste that's still remaining. And once that's operating, it'll take about 6 months to run that through the facility. So the cleanup is doing well. The lab is doing fantastic. They're expanding their role in nuclear energy and other arenas, whether it's cybersecurity or whether it's in battery testing or other things. In fact, I've got 1st of October 4 or 5 congressmen are coming out, and we're going to do from the Interior Committee and the Defense Committee. We're going to do a little tour of the backlog of maintenance in Yellowstone and Grand Teton, and then they're going to come down to Idaho Falls, and we're going to do a little tour of the site and what's going on out there, and naval reactors and the new facility we're building for naval reactors and stuff. So the site's growing. It is a huge impact on Idaho's economy in general, but
Even here.
even here.
Because we're so focused here on the great state of Ada.
Yeah, but it's a huge contributor to Idaho's economy in general, and particularly in southeast Idaho. So I love the work they're doing there.
Congressman Mike Simpson with us. Do want to remind you the Kevin Miller Money code word for this hour is massage. And don't forget to we'll save for that, Congressman Simpson. Remember, listen at 6 a.m., 8 a.m., and 3 p.m. during Sean Hannity for the code words. The more code words you get, the greater your chances to win up to $5,000 of Kevin Miller's money. Details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work.
Jim Duthie.
And we're back here at KIDO Talk Radio. Let's quickly go to pro-life, and then we've got one more question for Congressman Simpson. Pro-life, we thank you so much for your patience. Good morning.
Well, I called Mr. Simpson's office quite a few months ago, maybe it was almost a year ago, and I contacted all the other members of our congressional delegation from Idaho, and it had to do with transgenders in the military. President Trump, about a year ago or more, he said that he didn't want any more transgenders in the military. Then some federal judge said, supposedly overruled him, and said that transgenders could stay in the military. Now,
so you're asking about transgenders in the military?
Yeah. Now, a lot of transgenders are flooding into the military so that they can get chemicals and operations paid for by the military. And I've not had anybody from our congressional delegation, senators or congressmen, reply back to me. And somebody needs to do some investigation. Maybe your office, maybe you can get together with the others and share some
well, and speaking of transgenders, you did ask every person running for governor about this.
Yes.
You're very concerned about the transgenders.
Right. Because in Idaho, for example, there's a doctor up in Moscow, Jeff Stiller. He supposedly changes men into women.
Well, now, wait a minute. And Pro-Life, thank you for the call. If you're going to give somebody's name, you can't say supposedly, but we appreciate that. Congressman Simpson, your thoughts on that? Then I just want one more question with you about the midterms.
I don't really have much thoughts on that, but I'll look at it to see if they're...
You'll investigate.
I can't... I don't know that people are joining the military just to get a transgender operation. Well,
we'll leave it at that. Hey, how about this? The midterms. You deal with the House Republican leadership all the time. Yep. You're in these meetings.
Yeah.
What's the truth? What's going on?
It's going to be a very tough midterm election, given the history of the fact that the party in power, if it's the president's party during the first midterm election of the president's term, usually loses about 26 seats on average.
Historically, you're right.
Yeah, historically, we've got 23-seat majority. So things are going to be very, very tough. There are some districts that we thought we would lose because of retiring members, and we thought maybe that's the only member that can hold that seat, the only Republican that could hold that seat. We've actually got some really good candidates running in some of those, and it's starting to look up in a few of those races. Others where we thought they would be solid Republican seat are kind of in question. So, this is a flux. It's a turnout election, and if the base of the Democratic Party that has been fired up for the last 2 years over Trump and stuff turns out, it will be tough if the Republicans sit home. The Republicans have to get out and vote. It's not enough just to say, well, we've got the president, because I tell you, if the Democrats take control of the House of Representatives, it will be 2 years of nothing but investigations, impeachment hearings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Congressman Simpson, we always appreciate you swinging in. I go back to that, a very big difference. One last question, the difference between dealing with the president and the former president. When it comes to budgetary issues, when it comes to getting business done, is there a difference between dealing with President Obama and President Trump, in your opinion?
Well, I guess the main difference was President Trump doesn't want to spend nearly as much money as President Obama wanted to spend. He kept criticizing us because we didn't spend enough money, and President Trump criticizes us because we spend too much money. Like I say, it's a compromise in the middle there, and we follow the president's budget or the budget recommendations in terms of the amount that we can spend, and we have differences of opinion with every administration, the legislative branch does, on what those priorities are and stuff. But I've enjoyed working with the president on the appropriation issues. His OMB director, Mick Mulvaney, is a former member of the House from South Carolina and is a good guy. He has his own opinions, and I sometimes argue with him about some of those things, and that's okay. Good, healthy debate and argument is a good thing. So I think we're working well with the president on the appropriations process.
Well, what about Maxine Waters? I just had somebody text me a minute ago.
She's a character unto herself,
We'll leave it at that, Congressman Simpson. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin.
And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We appreciate Congressman Simpson joining us. And again, wake up to the newsmakers, whether it's from Fox News Radio, whether it's from our own newsmakers here in the Gem State, or you. Well, we love hearing what you have to say. And I know you have a lot to say. And one gentleman who, well, he's a little shy. He is the publisher of the Gem State Patriot. His name would be Tea Party Bob. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you today? Lots and lots of good ideas and good conversation this morning. Really enjoying it.
Well, we appreciate that. We're glad you're starting a little early on your scheduled guest spot here today.
Well, it's nice of you to give me the time to do this as usual.
I hear about it when I don't. Yes.
There aren't very many liberal stations that will allow me to talk. I just want to start off with a simple suggestion. Democrats don't fear Brett Kavanaugh. They fear the Constitution. For too many years, liberal progressives had their way when it comes to the Supreme Court ruling. Now that they are looking at the likelihood of a conservative court, it just scares the pants off of them to think that many of the previous rulings could be reversed in the future years. The liberals have relied on the administrative state and coercion as a policy tool through the appointment of federal judges like Presidents Clinton and Carter had. They now see their powers dwindling as President Trump continues to appoint new conservative judges to the federal courts, and if Kavanaugh is seated, that would mean an end to their ability to subvert and change the meaning of the Constitution. The administrative state will lose its power when it comes to abortion laws, socially progressive programs, and the laws that undermine our faith. We only have to look at Obamacare and the surprise ruling by Justice Roberts that obligated Americans to have health insurance and required everyone to pay for the insurance or pay a tax. Bringing Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court will for decades change the way we interpret our Constitution. There will be no more living Constitution where the liberals can rewrite it to fit their needs, and we may actually get some justice for the many past rulings that have abrogated its meaning and subverted it to conform to their needs. Both Kavanaugh and Gorsuch are critics of Chevron deference, the practice that allows administrative agencies to ignore the legal charge and have free rein to interpret statutory authority in virtually any way they please. There are few things that can undermine the socialist agenda more than limiting our regulatory agencies' ability to reign over our economic decisions as Americans. To be sure, the biggest problem for the liberals will be the precedent set by Roe v. Wade, in that they will no longer be able to safeguard the rights of women means keeping abortion legal on the federal level without any genuine restriction.
Well, now they're going after Idaho's abortion law that was just passed, saying it's too vague. And of course, it'll go to your friends at the old Ninth Circuit.
Well, and that's going to change also, because we got a new judge coming on there. You know, to be sure, we need this change in the court, but you can bet in the future the liberals will attempt to make the court less important with their rhetoric and simply dismiss the court as an antiquated impediment to their progress.
Well, Terry wants to know who wrote what you're writing today, or what you're reading today.
You can tell Terry I'm an originalist.
You don't have a writer?
I don't have a writer.
You come
I
up
have
with your
never
own
had a
stuff.
writer.
I'm just asking.
No, I don't have time, and I don't have the money to hire a writer. We're a not-for-profit organization. You know that.
Right. TheGemStatePatriot.com.
I thank you so much again for my time. I do appreciate it.
Now, before we let you go,
Sure.
you're a man, right?
Last time I looked.
You were born a man, correct?
Last time I looked in the shower.
Well, we appreciate your in-depth team coverage of anatomy and physiology. I want you to react as a man to this.
I expect the men in this country and the men in this committee, and many of them, believe me, because we all signed on to this letter to demand an FBI investigation. But really, guess who's perpetuating all of these kinds of actions? It's the men in this country. And I just want to say to the men in this country, just shut up and step up.
Now, imagine if you went on this show and we, substituted women for men. What would happen to you?
As I always say, Kevin, I have a very simple statement. You just cannot fix stupid.
But even when you have the media going, well, the 11 men, and then you have Jeff Flake of Arizona, well, it's bad optics to have men. And I'm thinking, wasn't it men that won the big one? Wasn't it men that...
Oh, no, it's Nate.
Wasn't it men? It was the founding fathers, correct? And look, let me apologize because this show is all about pandering to our female folks that we love and honor and respect that might be offended by this. But look, if you have a kid that's a boy, what message are we sending young men today in America?
Well, behind every great man, I always say there's a great woman. I found that out many times through my lifetime. But what they're trying to do now is to revive the feminist movement, and they're doing with awareness of something like this or whatever the problem might be.
I don't think it's awareness, but she's saying, men, you are disqualified from this conversation. Now, if you did that in the workplace, you could get her for sexual harassment.
I think that's exactly what they should do. They should just get rid of her and throw her out of the Senate.
I'm calling on our senators to file a complaint.
Well, be my guest. See what they do.
All right.
I'd love to hear what happens.
Tea Party Bob, God bless you, my friend.
Have a great day, my friend.
You too. Bye-bye. Our great friend, Tea Party Bob. Now, Dianne Feinstein, who brought up this young lady, all of a sudden she can't guarantee what the accuser is saying is truthful.
I can't say everything's truthful. I don't know.
But
this is a woman, and I really believe, who's been profoundly impacted by this.
Right. What about Brett Kavanaugh? Have you ever been smeared? Has anybody ever lied about you, maligned you, or someone that you love? It's horrible. It's horrible to disprove a negative. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO, that's what's really happening here with Judge Kavanaugh. And you have the liberals, you have the snivelings, you have the progressives, you have everyone else that are saying, well, it's got to be true. You have Anita Hill coming out of retirement saying she needs to have an FBI investigation. So in other words, I can make an allegation against any elected official that maybe I knew, maybe I didn't know 36 years ago, and we would have the FBI investigate. Nothing would get done. It's like a situation with the kids. It's like a situation at work. And sometimes work reflects childhood. Billy said you did this. Okay, bring Billy in and let him say it to my face. Right? I can remember once, and I'll share this with you, when I was student teaching, 8th grade girls. and boys. And they're always taught to, have conversations with the kids. And I remember speaking to a young lady and going, well, what are you doing, Sally, this weekend? Well, either Sally went to the principal or somebody else went to the principal. And I got called into the principal's office and said, well, what do you mean by that? I go, what do you mean by it? What do you mean? What do I mean by that? Well, this is a serious issue, Mr. Miller. And I go, are you kidding me? If I had an attorney, I would call one right now. This is an absurd allegation. Now, later it would be found, unfortunately for that man, that very principal, his marriage blew up because he was having an affair with his secretary. I don't wish that on anybody. But what's lost in this case is you have a good man, a man of faith, carrying a cross. Isn't that what it is? I heard this week in church, to appreciate the good times, you have to go through the pain and the suffering. Can you imagine being Brett Kavanaugh's kids? Can Dianne Feinstein, Chuck Schumer, Kamala Harris, and Mazie from Hawaii, Senator Mazie, look themselves in the mirror? Sometimes you have to wonder, is it worth it to destroy someone based on utter, unsubstantiated speculation? Conservative Steve, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
Hi, Kevin. How are you doing?
Trying to figure this out, and you?
Oh, it's a terrible situation. It's unfortunate. It's really a shame. Kavanaugh in there. His folks are there, his family. Supposed to be one of the most glorious days of your life, getting to that point in your life, and that opportunity, the great opportunity to be on the highest court of the land, and then the Democratic Party, they knew exactly what they were doing. They didn't even have the decency, if they had this information, to give, even if it was a glimpse of truth, at least give the guy an opportunity behind closed doors. Look, we have this information. Is it true? Is it not? Do we need to go forward on this or what? Give the guy an opportunity to respectfully resign if that was the case. But to just throw this bombshell out there, that was rude, crude, and lewd. And that's how these people operate, just like the people they have in the gallery. His dad with his, Kavanaugh's dad with his hands folded over his face, while these pussy hat folks and all the rest of them are just raising Cain. The Democrats know exactly what they're doing. And it's just unfortunate, It's like this. Hey, I didn't care for Obama's 8 years, but guess what? I didn't go around knocking out glass out of windows and dressing up in black hoodies and beating people up and acting a fool. And it's really unfortunate. And I think at the end of the day, the rational, normal people will step up to the ballot box and say, hey, man, you guys are ruthless, man. This is cutthroat. You had an opportunity to do this in a respectable fashion, and you chose to try to destroy this man for the rest of his life. It's really unfortunate.
Well, Conservative Steve, you talk about people that will be insane. If Kavanaugh goes down, the blue wave is over.
Yep. And you know what? I hope if Kavanaugh does go down, I hope Trump appoints the gal, the other one that's even worse, even more conservative than Kavanaugh. So, hey, and it's really unfortunate. I feel bad for him and his family, and to be raked over the coals like this and that and the other. And it just really goes to show you of what can happen to you. You work in a business place, and anymore being a man working for an organization or a company or whatever, the notion that all a woman has to do is go to the HR department and say, hey, I feel uncomfortable the way this guy's looking at me. And guess what? Now you spend the rest of your career at that company or corporation trying to defend yourself. Right. It's just unreal.
It is. Conservative Steve, thank you for the call. Brian and Nampa, I promise we'll get to you before Glenn Beck. First, you're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Nampa. Brian, thanks for your patience. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
Hey, Kevin.
Hello, Brian.
I just wanted to give a little insight on this Kavanaugh thing. You remember that book I told you about, The Games Criminals Play and How to Profit by Knowing Them? The little inexpensive book.
I bought it and haven't read it yet. Yes, I have it.
in that it is basically, it shows you the ladder of manipulation, the 14 steps of manipulation. And the reason I recommend that to people is because I worked in a prison and it was required reading. And the reason behind that is we all do it to a lesser or greater extent, but when you learn those steps and how they work, first of all, you can stop it when you're manipulating yourself or others, but it also gives you that map or those tools so when you can see other people either manipulating or being manipulated. Now, I know I'm not going to make a lot of friends by saying this, but she's not going to appear. It's a lie. She's a manipulator. And nothing's going to come of this, because if they push this too far, it might blow up back in their face. There is laws that if they prove she was not telling the truth, she could get in trouble. So that's just my experience. I recommend everybody read that book, learn those steps, even if you don't have them memorized. If they're in your subconscious mind, when you see somebody manipulating or yourself manipulating, it might give you pause. And that's kind of what I have to say. I think it's a lie. I think it's a ploy, and I don't think it's going anywhere. And just one more note about the little man thing. Men step up all the time. And there's two types of people in this world. There's people that complain, and there's people that do. And the people that do make mistakes, and the people that complain like to complain about your mistakes. But be proud that you're a person that does things.
Great call, Brian. We appreciate you. God bless. Good morning, Dave.